Hi, Favorite family. Welcome back. If you're here for the first time, my name is Clarice, and I'm the creator of Favorite Stationery. And today I am coming to tell you to stop waiting for perfect. God will meet you in the process. So this message is coming from an errand that I took last week. So I'm driving on the road, and I noticed at a certain point that the path is just clear. All right. Not so much on the other side of the street, but where I am, there is a clear road. And so God told me to pay attention to that. So I was like, okay, clear road. And then I get to my destination and I get a parking space right in front of the building where I was going. So I realized on that day that I had a clear path, and I also had a place that was prepared just for me. And this just made me think about how God works. When we're obedient and patient, God has a way of working things out for us how we could never figure out on our own. And it does not mean that we're not going to have obstacles. And it doesn't mean that life will be easy. But it does mean that God knows how to make a path when it appears to be none. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 reads, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make straight your paths." Sometimes we work so hard to force outcomes that we miss the path that God has already prepared. And that brings me to another thought, and it's something that I have been dealing with lately as well, okay? A lot of us need to get somewhere and have a seat. You know how your grandma used to say, get somewhere and sit down. A lot of us need to get somewhere and sit down, and I am in that number. You are burned out because you're doing too much. And listen, this is me talking to myself, okay? We want to know that we've done all that we can do. And a lot of times we will overdo, all right? You're burnt out because you're overdoing. And it's not because you don't love what you do or you don't have faith, but sometimes you can just depend on yourself too much. And so that comes in pushing and striving and trying to perfect every little detail. Your body is going to eventually remind you that you are not designed to carry so much pressure. Let me say this: rest, breathe, and put the perfectionism down. And so y'all know I have my faves that I listen to on YouTube myself. One of my faves, Chandrika Friana, love her channel, okay? She was recently talking and she said something that stood out to me. She said, make it exist and perfect it later. And that is wisdom, all right? A lot of us are afraid to release things because we feel like it's not quite the way we want it to be. And so you hold on to it and hold on to it, and eventually you forget about it. And it's just not the way to go. If God puts something on your heart to do, step out, do it, release it, and perfect it later. My book, for instance, I had to go back and edit some things in my book, and it was just small changes, not enough to truly make a difference. So some of you who purchased within that first month, there's a slight difference in a few things in my book, not necessarily in the stories, but I did make a few corrections. I had to do the same thing with my course that I just released. Just last minute adjustments, changes, improvements, and that is normal. So just know that no matter what you create, there will always be room for improvement, always. But the mistake is believing that something has to be perfect before it can be useful, and that is just simply not true. If God has placed something on your heart to do it, okay? Write the book, start the business, take the class, launch your channel, begin your healing journey, start a conversation, take the step, release that thing, learn from it, improve it. You cannot let perfectionism keep you trapped, okay? Mistakes do not diminish your worth, and your value does not come from flawless performances. Your value comes directly from God. And when you're aligned with Him, something beautiful happens. Things begin to come together. Things begin to flow, okay? And it doesn't mean that you don't get tired. It definitely does not mean that you don't have to work. It doesn't mean that all struggles will disappear. But the work does start to feel natural, and it starts to feel like a part of you. So eventually your path is going to become clearer and your opportunities are going to align. And so I don't know who needed to hear this, but stop obsessing over perfection and start walking in obedience. You have to trust God. Release that thing. A lot of us struggle in people pleasing, thinking people are going to judge our work and judge us, and you're going to have to let them, okay? Pick up my book. It might be helpful to you. We have to trust God, put down perfectionism, and get some rest. Take that next step that God is calling you to take. And listen, you do not need to have everything figured out. You couldn't if you tried, okay? You don't have to be perfect. You just need to be willing. God is going to meet you in the process, okay? Just like that parking space that was waiting for me. God already knows where you're going, and He's going to meet you there. Just keep trusting Him and move forward. And so here's an affirmation to end. I release perfectionism and trust God's direction. I will take the next faithful step and allow Him to guide the rest. So let me ask you this. What is that one thing that God has placed on your heart, but you've been putting it off because you want it to be perfect? Leave it in the comments. Let me know, and I will see you next time right here at Favorite Stationery. Goodbye.
Like, share, and subscribe.